Hello and welcome to the Lost Rewatch. It continues. It's going strong. We're about 7, 8 episodes in? 7. I've lost count already. We're doing the other 48 days in Collision. I'm joined by Karen and Caleb. How's it going, guys?
Hi, guys. How
Good.
are you?
Hey.
Now, Caleb, this is your first time on the Rewatch. What we usually like to do is get how you got into Lost, what your story is, anything else you want to talk about, and go from there. Because Karen, we've heard her story a few times, so
Sure.
not that we don't like to hear it.
Of course.
It's old news.
Well, yeah. So, I don't know about most people, but I started watching Lost with the DVDs first. I watched season 1 and season 2. My parents were really into it, and I think my dad had bought the first season for my mom for Christmas or something like that. And so I watched it and I loved it. And by the time it was on DVD and I had watched it, the second season was coming out on DVD, and I got it and I watched it. And so I started watching from season 3 live. And my favorite quote is, "It doesn't matter who we were, it only matters who we are." And that was the words Juliet spoke in the season 3 premiere. And so from right away, I was hooked, just because I've always been drawn to stories of, these people were in a shipwreck or a plane crash and they are on an island and they're trying to survive. And I watched Survivor growing up and things like that.
Right.
And anyway, so yeah, that I really I related to all the characters, especially Juliet. She's my favorite, and I just love it.
Was it hard? You said you watched the first 2 seasons on DVD, so I'm assuming you kind of binged it. Was it hard? Because season 3, I remember season 3 they had that awkward where they did the first 6 episodes, then they took time off, and it was like there was a long break. Season 2, was that the year they had the strike? Was it season 4?
4.
No,
4.
it was 3. End of 3, maybe? I forgot.
Was it end of 3? Either way, I just remember.
Either way, yeah.
I just remember season 3 taking forever.
Oh yeah, right. Okay.
Because I watched season 1 on the DVDs, and then I got started with season 2, and I found it hard because I wanted to see the next episode. So I'm just kind of imagine watching 2 seasons and then trying to wait every 6 weeks for an episode to come out.
I wasn't really watching like 7 a day or anything like that. I would watch maybe a couple a night. This was before like binging is super hardcore now, but
right.
I do remember the moment when, well, I hate to spoil it. I'm already going to spoil something. So
it's been off the air for 10 years. You can't really. If anyone's spoiled, sorry, but it's your fault.
So when Michael does something really, really bad, and 2 people pay the price for it, that episode, it was late at night, and I was like watching it before I went to bed, and I shot right up out of bed and was like, because I had never, I grew up with this CSI thing, this formulated television, and Lost broke all those rules and broke down so many barriers. And for 2 main characters to go out just like that they basically just introduced not too long ago,
right?
Just kind of blew my mind, and I was like, "What's happening?" And I knew then that, oh my gosh, this is going places, But yeah, that was an experience I remember.
I think I remember it shocked a lot of people. I mean, I know that was a big. Because I remember we were doing the podcast at the time, and that was we had a lot of calls and a lot of emails about that people just couldn't believe that had happened. Not so much the first person, but the second person getting shot was like, no. Because a lot of people liked her, and I know a lot of people don't like the first person that got killed. I kind of go back and forth with. I kind of understand her a little more than maybe some other people.
Well, I have a lot to say about her.
I have some issues with a particular character, so
yeah, there's some.
I think that's what's great about the show is we all have issues with somebody on the show, right?
Of course.
I mean, I think that there's there's clear lines drawn with maybe characters like Kimi or something like that.
Yeah.
But with like the Losties and the Tillies and even some of the others, obviously Juliet, most of them are redeemable, have redeemable qualities. But then you have some characters that are just at the lowest of the lowest. Is like you've got to work hard to like see it from their point of view, and give them the benefit of the doubt. But
that's why this story about the human condition, which we watch all of these people in the situation and the human condition and what they have to deal with, past, present, and future in their own beings, that this particular character is quite lost in every sense of the word. And she's got to go some to fix some stuff.
yeah.
She's gonna be fast. I'm trying
to not curse because we're talking about this person. So I'll be very careful to not let anything fly.
Yeah, your Facebook post was like, find out my thoughts on Ana Lucia. And I was like, Karen's always so positive about like, I don't have a worst favorite episode. Everyone's my favorite. Right. I'm like, is she gonna be like, Anna's my favorite too? Like, what is she gonna say?
Yeah, exactly. I love everything, everybody, every storyline, every character except for one. And anybody that followed my blog knows how much I couldn't stand her.
I know since I started season 2 Rewatch, that's been the biggest people to say I can't stand her. Yeah. But before we get into that, Caleb, I know I know you've written a book, or so you want to promote it or anything like that before we get into hating somebody.
Yeah, sure.
Let the hate flow through you.
And
just
I might be able to bring a little bit more of humanity to her from my experiences, because as I was rewatching the episode, I was like, I see exactly why she did that. Now it's completely wrong, but I know now, why. But so I'm an author, and I just read a book this year. It's called Harnessing Darkness, Expressing Mental Illness Through Poetry. And you can find it on Amazon and Books A Million and BarnesandNoble.com and all those places. And I've been to various places across the country so far, kind of on a book tour. My husband travels with his job, so I'm able to kind of tag along with him and contact stores in the area and set up book signings and speaking engagements as we go along. And actually next week I'll be in New York at the Barnes & Noble in Union Square, and I'm like, oh my gosh, what a dream come true. So it's just kind of a fluke thing.
I'm so proud of you.
Thank you.
I just want to put that out there. I mean, we've communicated about it, but I'm so proud of you.
Well, thank you very much. It took me a long time to kind of like accept some of the traumas that I had been through, and I used writing as an outlet. And I know on one of these videos before, Karen, you were talking about your cancer diagnosis and how Lost was there for you through that. And I feel like Lost was, as you mentioned in that episode, kind of here for people through some people that were struggling at the same time that the castaways were struggling.
That's right.
So I feel like I definitely fall into that category.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'd love if you could check it out. My website's calebislost.com. I've had the username on Twitter, calebislost, for years now. It's like my Instagram, everything like that. So I just thought I would, just make it part of who I am. And it kind of goes along with the whole like lost in life and things like that, and overcoming that. But I do feel like we don't acknowledge the mental health issues that these castaways have. I mean,
they're very wounded people, all of them, and especially when we do talk about these 2 episodes, guys. Ana Lucia is very wounded and tortured. So
absolutely,
the things in our past make us who we are, but hopefully we can grow from them. And here Caleb found a way to find a healing place through things, whether it be the TV show that ignited it, to where he was able to put his own journey into words. And now this is where you are. And
Well, thank you.
you
That's
I'm
great.
very proud of you.
Congratulations. I mean, that's
I'm very
amazing.
proud of you.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Yeah,
I mean, that's a big deal, New York City. I mean,
my
Yeah,
hometown.
it's actually going to be my first time there. So I don't even know what to. I'm going to
do you like
freeze to death.
do you like crowds? Do you like lots of
No,
people?
no, not at all.
Do you
Yeah,
like loud? Everything's loud.
No, you're okay. So you're like you've both listed like triggers for my PTSD. So I'm like,
Well,
great.
just be prepared. That's
I'll be in a bookstore.
I was born and raised there. If you need some insight, I'll fill you in.
Right. It's kind of
the cab drivers like to honk the horn a lot.
Oh yeah. Well, I like to honk the horn.
Okay.
Alabama drivers are but yeah, it's weird when you talk about crowds and things like that because my husband pretty much has to do all of our grocery shopping because it's something about like there being just like a box and then all these rows. And it's weird
Okay.
because I've been to all these conventions and things, but it still feels so open to me. And like there's lines and everything, nothing's, I mean, there's some things chaotic, but like it's for the most part, it's kind of organized. Whereas like at a grocery store, you have like 8 different kinds of peas and 8 different kinds of cereal, more than that. But so part of PTSD is the trouble with making choices and it just overwhelms you. So like every aisle is just like a nightmare for someone like me. So I don't think crowds in New York are going to be like that.
No, there's just a lot of people because I'm from San Diego. My first time there, I've been to Los Angeles. I've been to big cities. I was like, oh my God, there's a lot of people here. And I'm not big on the big lots of people, lots of traffic and stuff like that. That's kind of my issue.
Yeah.
But especially people go in here in Raleigh, they would go, "Oh, you're going to New York?" I go, "Look, I've been to big cities. I know. I'm not from Mayberry. I'm from San Diego. So,
well, I'm pretty much from Mayberry, so it may be a complete culture shock for me.
They're nice people though up there because you think that I found them to be nice. So except for the cab drivers, that was just it was like honk the horn, get out of my way, I'm gonna run you over. That's kind of their attitude up there, but. You get used to it. I mean, we didn't get hit, but anyway, you guys ready to tackle the other 48 days? Because I think the main character is going to get some. There'll be some conversation about her.
Of course.
I like the opening shot.
Let me prepare. Okay.
I love
Put your gloves on.
Actually, the opening shot ruined my first real crackpot theory I ever had because I said the plane crash was staged. That was my first original theory because how could they survive this crash? There's no way they could survive this crash. And within 3 seconds of this episode, my theory is torn apart with the Corona commercial. It's like I always call it the Corona commercial because everything's peaceful, and then all hell breaks loose. You see things just falling out of the sky and people in the water, and I'm like going, all right, I was wrong, but I thought it was very well done, especially for a TV show.
I agree. It was very, very well done. We get that moment of what's going on because it was peaceful, like you said, but we see, lo and behold, the tail section is in the water, and the island. When we get the first view in that first few seconds, the one thing that caught my attention was the first pop up out of the water. The island is upside down.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
And I love those details. And of course, Ana Lucia pops out of the water. And I remember at some point in another episode, she says she woke up under the water. But anyway, her clothing is slightly different. Now, it could be done because maybe they needed to address certain things technically because of filming and whatever. But I still noted that what she was wearing in the water was a brown leather jacket and a thin black, like a strappy top with no necklace. That's not what she was wearing in the airport at all. She was wearing a white shirt with necklace and everything. So she's wearing. She could have
spilled a drink on it and changed before she got on the plane.
They could have. listen, this woman is so filled with shenanigans, it could have been anything. I don't know.
She's really sloppy, so yeah.
But these are things I noted because they caught my attention. So,
but that was a whole season, right? That was production's fault.
Yeah, of course. We'll blame it on production. We blame it on, but here's the thing is we find out that there really is other parts of things that we're not, again, what we think they are. Here's another section of a plane with people trying to survive.
Right.
In that same 48-day span that our beach survivors are. So we're led to believe here that it is part of the same flight. So yes. And Anna takes control right from the get-go.
Yeah.
Well, go ahead.
Oh no, I was just going to say that I thought that the opening scene, just like y'all said, was it was so peaceful. You're just like, oh, we're on the island. Things are nice. And I guess if you knew the name of the episode at that time, you would kind of know what was going on. But then when that first, seat crashes, you're like, oh my gosh, we are in for it.
Yep.
And it was just nonstop. It was basically
Action.
just seeing the what was happening all along, on the other side of the island. And I think this episode, it's actually one that I will just go back and rewatch just on its own, every now and then, because as a standalone episode, it's great. I mean, it's
right.
It's like a mini story within itself.
And I love the fact that this particular episode, there's a lot of mirroring that went on with our beach survivors. The same types of things were going on. Somebody had to be in control. Somebody had to revive somebody. Jack revives Rose, and in this episode, Ana Lucia revives. So there's things like that. There's all kinds of mirroring going on, and that's pretty awesome. And I love that.
Well, they did a great job. Like I said, the pilot episode is amazing, but the stress level you feel it's like
the anxiety.
You kind of, oh my God, what is going on? And even though we knew, because we know what's going to happen. Especially when it starts crashing, But I still felt, you have Ana Lucia, you have Echo, you have Libby, all taking, going in and people panicking, and people, where's my wife, where's my husband, where's my, where's mom,
Right.
And you can just kind of put yourself in that situation. You go, that just is such a traumatic. I mean, to survive it is an amazing thing, but just the stress that happens from surviving it.
Right.
And what happens to them afterwards too. So
right, and people were helping and things like that, and that was great to see. But there was a lot of similarities happening in the tail sections version of these 48 days when that tail section collides with the water and the beach and whatnot. So, but we have another similarity. We have Anna helps a guy named Donald who hurts his leg on the beach. He's laying on the beach, and also we find out that the little girl is not breathing, and that's who Ana Lucia revives on the beach.
Emma.
So,
I think it's Emma.
Right. So, again, we have someone who's going to die and someone who's reborn, gets to come back to life because she's revived. And I love that idea too. Same thing. We have these mirroring things of what happens on the beach.
Well, we also find out later on too that why she cares so much about kids.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes. But I forgot what I was going to say.
I'm sorry.
No. I was going to. Nope, it's gone.
It'll come back. It'll come back.
Gone. What did you just say, Karen?
About that Emma revives the little girl.
Yeah. Because I think it was still like at this point in the show there was the theory that there had to be the same amount. The population on the island had to be the same number because when Boone died, Claire's. Aaron was born.
Right.
Life
and death was simultaneous. Yeah.
Right. So I think that theory was still in play there. I'm not sure if anybody else had been kind of knocked off before it. Well, Shannon had just died, I guess.
Right.
But we were, it's just the next episode. Anything could happen.
Yeah, I forgot about that theory. That was one of the many ones out there. And I kind of went with it at first. I said, I could see that. I could see that. But then it was just like, there were so many of them out there that it was hard to keep track. But I like how Echo, he quickly, when this season, he quickly becomes one of my favorite characters and we don't even know his backstory yet.
Right.
And I said, I think on the last podcast, if we had known his backstory, would we have loved him as much as we did? Because he's a bad guy. He's a terrible person, right?
But no, he's not really.
But he is.
He had to do things. Well, again, like he explains later on. Again,
Right.
This again, it's spoiling, but it's not spoiling. It's part of we're rewatching, so it's here.
Right.
But we discover that he has to do what he has to do because that's what he has to do, and all ultimately was done because he saved his little brother back in the day. So a sacrifice was made early on. So this is the hand he was dealt. So even with the hand he was dealt, he still tried to find a way to protect his brother, even as adults. So, he did some pretty bad things. Okay. But it was all in the name of, again, emotional survival and how to protect my family.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make it right? No, but I could see clearly that his sacrifice when they were children meant the world to him.
Right.
He needed to protect his brother.
It's basically
go ahead.
It's basically rooted in the fact that when they were little, he stood up and was like, I'm going to have to do this and let my brother have a different path. And
right.
So he took on that role. Otherwise, his brother would have had to have that role.
Right. Which was, or is he volunteering his tribute? Is he taking on that role genuinely? I think so. I think he was doing it for his brother. And as a kid, you don't understand the ramifications that will happen and reverberate into adulthood like that. So, anyway.
But his brother always kind of was upset with him, right?
Yeah, I didn't like that kind of holier than thou aspect. It's like, hey, he did this for you. You got to cut him some slack there.
Yeah.
But he's just an amazing character. It's a shame that the actor didn't want to stay on the show.
I know, because I did like him as a character. I thought he really brought a lot to the group, and he probably I think he would have brought a lot of that spiritual side at some point later on when needed, but we'll never know.
No, but I do like how he takes the other kids to Libby. Right, is it Libby?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Or is it Cindy?
Libby.
Is it Cindy?
He tells Cindy to look after them.
Right, watch the kids. Right.
Yeah.
And he goes and retrieves all the dead bodies out of the water.
Yeah.
And I'm like going, wow, I wouldn't even think about doing that.
Right. But that's what he can do. That was his contribution of something that he can do at that time. So, and at that point, are those the last words he says for those 48 days? Because I know he doesn't speak for. Right. So I think the last thing we hear him say is that watch the kids or watch the children, whatever. And then he doesn't speak for a while.
Well, he talks with Bernard.
Yes, he does
about Rose.
About Rose.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. So I think that was a big revelation, because is this the first time we're finding out that he's white, basically?
I think
we found it out earlier.
Before.
We found it out earlier when Michael Sawyer and Jen go to the hatch.
That's right, and the other hatch.
That's right. That's
the arrow hat. The arrow, I think it is. But I do like that but Libby resets Donald's leg, which was, and then Goodwin says, but this is I didn't notice it the first time that he's dry. He's not wet. And every time I watch this episode, I go, yep, there he is.
Yep.
Not wet at all.
Yeah,
and just never noticed it the first time, because there's so much chaos going on, and we should have been looking for stuff like that, because
it was right
we
there.
know we know we know that happened on the other side. So why wouldn't it happen on this side? And I never, it wasn't till later, till he breaks Nathan's neck that I go, oh, it's him.
And he was also, his demeanor was quite calm, always. I do want to just say something about Libby, that she claims that she was a clinical psychologist, which is very, very important in my world, because nowhere to, she considers herself a clinical psychologist. So we find out a little bit about a part of a life she led in the past. Just a touch.
Well, I had
That's it.
written that down too because my question was, do we believe her when she says that? Based on knowing what we know about her.
I'm going to say yes.
Now, Liberty's one of
Okay.
my favorite characters.
Yeah, I'm going to say yes just because
She
I
had
don't
another life.
I don't have any evidence that she didn't. She wasn't.
Right.
Yeah.
But here's why. And again, we're going to have to spoil a little bit for those who didn't, and they're just jumping in our world. But at some point, she is married to a man who has a boat, and they have money and things. So maybe she really was a clinical psychologist who just ended up in the nut house. That's all. It happens.
Yeah.
It happens.
Yeah.
So maybe she really, really was. All right, let's get back to Goodwin for a second. So Goodwin was, here's because I had two trains of thoughts going on at the same time. So Goodwin, always calm, always kind of thinking, reasoning, especially when when he does see Bernard in the tree and everything, and he goes and gets Anna. He's very calm. Oh, there's a guy in the tree. Oh, like it's nothing. No, there's a guy in the tree.
He has no
Anna.
stakes.
Yeah, so he's dry and calm and collected, but he's on a mission. He knows he wants to kind of build a relationship with Anna Lucia of some sort.
But he knows eventually not to push her.
Right.
He questions her, but not in a way that agitates it. Gets her all agitated.
He seems to know how to read her.
Right.
He reads the room, so to speak.
He'd be a good poker player because like Nathan is always antagonizing her, and you don't do that with Anna Lucia because Anna Lucia has a bit of a temper, right? Little temper.
Okay, so are we just going to throw it out there so that
Nathan got like a raw deal. Everybody forgets about Nathan.
That poor guy, just minding his own business, going in the jungle for 2 hours because he had to go to the bathroom. Leave him alone. He had to go to the bathroom.
He's got a nervous stomach. I mean, they just survived a plane crash.
But do you see? But maybe she's taken on the leadership role. Echo is not because after Echo kills a couple others, he doesn't talk. So he's not talking. He's completely left. She said that she told Emma that she was going. You will see your mom again. Right. She's anyone who takes on the leadership role, I guess, handles it differently.
But here's the thing: she did take on leadership, but she was very controlling. There's a huge difference. Jack was the leader, but didn't want to be the leader.
Right, but there was a different. I mean, if you rewatching these season 2, it's because Michael was. What happened to you people? Why are you guys this way? Why are you so? And when we see what it's completely different. What happened to them? I mean, was it Scott or Steve? I can never remember. One of them gets there was some stuff going on, but not like it was going on with them.
Day one.
They had 23 people.
Not one. Yeah. People were being snatched.
Right. So on day 2, we see that a couple of them had been taken. And because Anna Lucia makes a comment that because Echo killed 2 people, that on day 2 he kills 2 people. And then she wanted to know who these other people were because they had on no shoes, they had no wallet, no ID, no keys,
cell phone,
no labels, no phones. And she's the one that declares these are the people who were here before us.
Right.
So that's a pretty dominant statement to say, okay, we're not alone. These people are here. And again, mirroring what we know happened to our beach survivors. They say there's a similar conversation with John Locke. We're not the only people on this island, and we all know it, So things like that are again, these mirroring. So now they've already on day 2, have already started to infiltrate the tailies. The others have infiltrated the tailies and are starting to take people and stake out the camp. But if I remember, I wrote this note down because I'm obsessive like this. In A Tale of Two Cities, Ben says to Goodwin and to what's his name that he wants lists in 3 days. How did Goodwin get the names to him that quickly? It's only day 2. I was always puzzled by that. How did he get that so fast? How does he have a list of names? Because then we find out, more people are going to get taken, and they do.
Yeah. So, are we sympathizing with Anna here? Or are we still upset with her?
I'm upset with her because I just don't like her. So there it is.
Well, at this point, I think, I mean, just on day 2, she's starting to be like, all right, we're gonna have to make a barrier. And I think I put, when the kids get snatched, everybody snaps.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think that's when I think that was like, all right, we're going to get them the next time
Right.
they show up. And I think she went into, instead of a leader controlling mode, it was more of a survival, us against them,
But also
no matter
a
what.
little bit of a revenge mode too.
Oh,
because
yeah, absolutely.
Here's when she starts to, when that happens, she's digging a hole. She's suspicious of somebody in the camp that Cindy says Nathan wasn't on the plane. She insisted Nathan wasn't on the plane,
Yeah.
yet the dude was on the plane.
Yeah.
So but already in Anna's mind, she's already in that mode of, like you said too, now something's changing, something snaps, something clicks.
Yeah.
And now there's revenge. I got to be suspicious of everybody. I can't trust anybody. The defenses go up. And now she doesn't handle things. She reacts. Now she's reacting.
Now, what about Libby? Because Libby, can Libby take some blame here? Because she was kind of, he creeps me out about Nathan. She creeps me out. I didn't see him on the plane. And then I think it was Bernard said, well, I didn't see a lot of people on the plane. Bernard seemed to be the most rational one of the. He just wanted to survive because he wanted to see if his wife was still, if Rose was still alive.
Right.
I think it was paranoia on all ends. They, once the kids were snatched, they were like, nobody's safe, and the poor kids, and that struck something in everybody, and that everybody started looking around at everybody, and it's typical Lord of the Flies.
Yeah.
Pinpoint. Oh yeah, him. Oh well, I didn't see him. Well, he was gone 5 minutes today. And then it just spiraled into, yep, it's him for sure, no doubt about it. And it wasn't.
Even Cindy was a flight attendant and said she didn't see him.
Right.
Yeah, she was like, I'm good with faces.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, you don't. No, you're not.
Not really.
Because you should not even know Goodwin, and you're acting like he's on the plane. And then Nathan was on the plane, and you're acting like you don't know him. So, which there's a whole theory that she was an other to begin with. So I don't know.
I believe that she was. I always think that she was. I believe that she was working with the others. I always believe that, just because in the episode before, how she just disappears, without a trace. I mean, it just seemed sketchy
Convenient.
to me.
It was too easy. It was too easy. Because all of a sudden she's just not there. It was just too easy.
But we'll never know. But just, I guess, for our imagination to.
But Anna seems to, in her reactionary way of now handling this after the kids get taken and things like that, is very, she's very aggressive. You could see that she's angry. She's almost torturous. I mean, she really kind of taunts Nathan while he's in the pit, and all of that. But then, lo and behold, poor Nathan does get killed, but it's by the hands of Goodwin.
Yeah. And there's a lot of foreshadowing there, because earlier, Goodwin, when they're trying to snatch the chicken, he's the one who grabs it and just wrings its neck, and kind of showing that.
Oh, good, great point.
Kind of showing that evil side to him, and I was like, you're about to do that same thing to Nathan.
It's right there. So his poor Nathan got the really crappy end of the stick with this whole thing.
Yeah,
he did. I mean, flat out, he did.
Right. He was just going on a nice business trip to Australia, and then all this happens.
What's the moral of the story? Don't stay behind to sightsee. just go back with everybody else. But and then she finds out, when she sees the banana peel, she loses it.
Right.
Yeah.
Again, see how, that's what I mean. Mm-hmm. All of a sudden, her reactions are very angry. You could see the triggers for her are anger, defensive, and reactionary, and all of those emotions are based in fear, really. Mm-hmm. But still, that's that's at her core who she is. She's just absolutely aggressively defensive. So who's feeding him? Who's doing this? Now all of a sudden she just wants to get at everybody. So it's not just being in a leadership role. It's controlling and now wanting to just be, I need to know because I need to get revenge. I need to fix this. I don't trust anybody. So all of her emotional flaws are right there on the surface for us to see.
Mm-hmm. Her humanity bar is really pretty low for her to be like, are you feeding the prisoner? Like, why are you doing that? It's like, you're not going to at least feed him?
Right. I mean, this is a human being, so you can't.
She doesn't see it that way.
Right.
She's like, traitor, absolutely know it for sure, even though she doesn't.
So here's this lost, wounded woman. What happened to her in her past that made her, what brought her to this place, so to speak? What brought her to this place? Something.
We'll find out soon.
I think so.
If anyone's in the chat, you can chime in at any time. I'm sorry, Caleb, but go ahead.
No, that's okay. I see that, with Anna, like you said, everything's on the surface with her. And I think that sometimes they don't do a good job at showing like, hey, these people just survived a plane crash. They are all in some form or fashion dealing with post-traumatic stress disorder. And especially with the tail section from, like we said, day one, they were getting kidnapped and having to deal with way more than, the other people had it easy. And we thought they had it rough.
In comparison,
Yeah. And so I feel like you can kind of take a step back and say, okay, they're all in a lot of shock. This is why she's making these decisions, but still she's still crossing the line for that. And then you find out later that basically she has had this PTSD for a while. So anyway.
Now, did it hurt Anna Lucia that Echo was not speaking, because he was her conscience? He would kind of talk her off the cliff, say, okay, hey, Anna.
That's a good point.
We see later on that he goes, with him not speaking, she needed somebody. And you had Bernard, who was not very strong, Libby, and Cindy. Who did she have other than Goodwin, who's,
I feel she didn't. You're right. You're absolutely right on all of those things. That for some reason she may have had held some value in Echo's, communication and things, and that's great. When he stopped talking, again, I think she just took it personally. And again, all she wanted was demanding, why are you not speaking? Instead of respecting him that he needed to not speak currently. Okay, but that's something that needs to come with learned behavior. She doesn't know how to calm down and back up. She doesn't know how to take a breath and say, okay, hold on, I'm not the only one in this.
But with Echo's nature, maybe if he did speak, she would not have waited those 40 days to cry like they have that scene later.
Right.
And I feel like for whatever reasons he did that looking back, it's kind of annoying. But I think that's a good point that you bring up, that it's like, yeah.
Okay, but again, and Jack, we touch on this part because I kind of gravitate towards the metaphor part of this and a little bit of that spiritual side about the path to enlightenment. It's always been my take on the show. So when I look at those two characters, I'm watching two characters walking this path on this journey that they're on, the hills and valleys that this current situation is putting them in, but it's also they're carrying their past with them on this adventure now. But you still have to walk your own path. You have to go through your own lessons. Our paths will cross with each other. I'm being strictly metaphorical, obviously, but our paths will cross with each other, but we still have to walk our own path. And the things that we endure in the past make us who we are today. And if we can't learn to grow from them, we're going to be stuck in that place forever. So metaphorically watching the story, that is what I see. Two people walking their path, and two are trying to find their way on this path. Anna still is, I feel, very staunch still in her angry way, where Echo right now is saying, okay, on my spiritual path, I need to do this right now. So I just see two people who are their paths now have separated a bit while they try to find their way to letting go or enlightenment or whatever you want to call it.
Well, I agree with you. It just seems to me that Echo was her strongest ally.
He was
And
until she needs to be her own.
Yeah, but you're still in the situation where, like Caleb said, where you're just being attacked.
Right.
I mean, there's no time to where Anna's logic is. There's no time to be.
Yeah,
I can't be at peace right now because I can't go 40 because people are depending on me to survive.
Right.
What's left of our group?
And she has a lot of pride in keeping them alive, and
Right.
that's important to her. That's important to her to keep them safe and alive. And I'm not negating that. I'm just saying she has a very aggressive, angry way about her, and I find that to be very off-putting.
She's like, calm. What's calm? Why are you doing this?
Yeah.
But I would kind of be the same way. I would be like, they're picking us off one by one. You know, we're being attacked.
It's scary.
Why are you not talking? Like,
right.
Talk, help us out. What are you doing? So that probably, I mean, that would have just for 40 days, you know, I mean,
right.
It'd be one thing.
I mean, I do understand from that.
He could have wrote on his stick, not
like
speaking
did
for 40
all
days.
Is Jesus dick?
Right.
It's one thing not to have Bernard talk. You know, it's okay, but to have Echo, I need Echo, and it just. I guess I'm not defending Anna, but I do see
that made it harder.
I do see her side of why she was, because I didn't defend Jack. Why Jack was the way he was. And he was rude. I mean, especially the start of season 2, he just is very rude to John. I've always been a big Jack defender towards when it comes to John, because I think John undermined him every step of the way.
Yeah.
But Jack was rude to, he was always screaming at John in season season 2.
He was always at odds with John. They did not see eye to eye. And let's make it clear, I understand where Anna's coming from. I respect that we're seeing that part of the weight of trauma in a character and why they react a certain way. Maybe it is just my own thing where I don't like rudeness and anger.
She definitely is rude, and she's definitely rude because you see when she's ordering Michael and Jen and yelling at Sawyer, it's just and they're like, but they don't understand. They don't understand what they've been through. I said it earlier, right?
But she's behaving like a bitch. She really is. She's behaving that way. So how are you supposed to have all of your troops fall in line if you're a chaotic leader, or you can't lead that way? No, you can't. I agree. Yeah. So I just think there's reasons for her acting that way. Yes, and I understand that there definitely are reasons for that. There's no alcohol, so she's she can't calm herself down. She can't. They need that alcohol, but there's no mixers. So what are you going to do?
Once again, they don't have hardly any of the luxuries that the other people did.
Right. And
their experience, I think, is more trying.
It is
more traumatic. They're not. Jack and company, they're not having to deal. They were like, okay, the plane crashed. We've got some people who are probably going to die from their injuries. Okay, blah, blah.
We got to bury all the bodies, get rid of the bodies.
Yeah. But here it's like, okay, well, there's just like, 12 of them maybe. And then, they're always getting picked off one by one every night, and they don't know what's going on, and they're being attacked. And I mean, they barely even have, how much sleep have they even got during this like 10-day, 20-day period?
Well, they started with 23. So they whittle down to 5.
Okay. See, I mean, they just had a completely different set of circumstances. Now, and then when one of the 5 doesn't talk for 40 days, you're like, well, what the?
It is a pretty horrible 48 days. It really is. It really is. But then when we find out is this when they discover the bunker after all that, or am I jumping too far ahead? Maybe I'm
perfect. They go on the move. because Nathan's been killed. So
Oh, I did want to say one other thing. I'm sorry, guys. That we do one other thing that is shown in this episode is at one point Anna is shown actually wearing either a wedding band or a ring on her ring finger, and then later on it's not there.
Oh.
So I think it's kind of important to note that because that comes into play probably in the next episode.
Yeah.
So.
All right. I didn't notice that. But they go up, Cindy comes and said, oh, Nathan is gone. And, so they go, we got to get on the move. They take off. And then they find the hatch, and it has a glass eye, a Bible, and a radio.
And a radio.
Walkie-talkie.
And it has electricity. There's some power in there.
Yeah.
It has some electricity.
And Anna smiled.
Yes,
so
she did.
On day 27, Anna smiled.
And it also had a quarantine warning.
Right. It did.
So we do know that, again, similarities to what our folks experienced. But
I like the glass eye because that foreshadows the next season.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. The radio, they're not getting very much signal and stuff like that. And Goodwin's the one that claims that they need to get to higher ground, and he's the one that's going to take the radio to do it. And Nana's like, yeah, no, that's not going to happen. Not on my watch.
I'll go with you.
I'll go.
But I thought that came from more of a place, and you just mentioned the wedding ring thing, of the chemistry between them. And that, they were kind of sleeping side by side there for a while. And obviously she's suspicious and paranoid in nature, but
they had a communication kind of bonding going on.
Yeah.
They did.
Yeah. So I don't think it was fully like, I don't trust you. I think it was a combination of all that.
I think she wanted to trust him.
Do you think, though, because in the next episode we find out that she has issue with not Jason, who was her she was engaged to somebody.
She was married to Danny or something.
Married to Danny.
Married to Danny.
So maybe she does have trust issues.
Right. Absolutely.
With Goodwin. So.
Right. But Goodwin's in the grown-up version of the Peace Corps. He's a great guy.
Yeah.
He's a great guy.
Yeah.
But he wasn't wet in the jungle.
Very important. Very
important.
important.
But I love this scene because a good give and take going back and forth with the two actors. And then Anna Lucia basically calls them out. They fight, and Goodwin becomes a shish kebab.
Yeah, it's all over. Anna is a killer.
But I like when she comes back. She goes,
way before this, she is.
Exactly. But that's my point.
That's
Anna,
the first one.
and again, we're going to find out in the next episode. This is who she is. We're finding out who she is.
She did kill him, but was it self-defense?
No.
She needed to eliminate him. She knew that he was not who he said.
Which one?
Goodwin. Wait, are you talking about Goodwin or are you talking about Jason?
I'm talking about Goodwin.
Goodwin.
Oh,
no.
That was self-defense.
You feel it was self-defense?
I feel
like
fighting. I mean,
right. They were fighting.
Be killed.
Right, but I know they were fighting. Yes, but
Did she attack him first?
It doesn't matter. He ended up dead.
Well,
no, here's the thing. In other words, they got into it. They kind of pushed each other's buttons enough where it was going to escalate into a fight. And I think ultimately she saw it as he needed to be eliminated anyway because I couldn't trust him and he wasn't who he said he was. Because she was nonchalant when she gets back to her camp saying, Goodwin, Goodwin, yeah, he ain't coming back because,
Yeah, she really didn't she didn't give an explanation. She didn't.
She was very, very nonchalant about it, But she questioned him because she knew how did he even know about Bernard in the tree if he was on the beach? So
why were you dry? You
right, exactly. So she did ask all those logical questions at that point. And he reveals to her though too that he's privy to the taking of the other Taily survivors and the children. He's privy to all of that. He knows why. He knows what's going on, and she's just.
You think what set her off is she wasn't on the list, that they didn't want her?
No, I do think she does. She does genuinely have it could be because she's Anna Lucia, but anyway. But I think it's people are gonna hate this. Listen, Jack, people are gonna hate this episode because I hate this woman so much. But
No, I think they're gonna love it. To be honest with you, I think most people don't like Anna Lucia.
well, good. We'll have a whole
Yeah.
squad anyway. But no, I mean, again, understanding where she's coming from, yes. Respecting where she's coming from, yes. Having to like what she does and the person she is, no, I just don't dig it. But she, again, I feel took the opportunity presented itself to eliminate Goodwin,
Sure.
and
Yeah.
she was fine with it because he was to her a danger. But I think that her thing is she really is scared for the kids because the kids were taken, and she really does feel a protective nature to help the kids. So because that is the one thing that really, like
Triggers her.
Caleb said,
Oh, yeah.
it's the kids. Yeah.
And then we have Bernard hears Boone on the radio, and Anna
Oh,
Lucia takes the radio from. Now, at first I'm like going, "Oh, come on, Anna," but then I'm like, she makes sense.
because
yeah.
she's afraid. Again, she's
Why
afraid.
it could be a trap.
Right. That's a logical, absolutely logical caution way to behave.
Yeah.
Wait, we can't trust. If they infiltrated our camp this many times and one was living with us, they're listening to us, they're watching us. So I can understand why she fluffed it off and said, no, it's not real.
So we're okay with
that. Well, I'm okay with that. I understand
it's not like Boone would have been there for the response anyway, right?
Oh, poor Boone. That's true, though. He was on the way down, literally.
He was.
Yeah.
He was destined to die in a plane crash.
It's a sacrifice that the island demanded.
Then finally, Echo speaks. It's going to be okay, Anna. And I think that's really all she needed for the 40 days was for him just to say that. It's going to be okay, Anna.
Well, because I think he sees she has been carrying all of the burden for all of that time. She did, but she took on that burden. So, but she was carrying it, and I think that he really felt compassion for her, that she was having to deal with all of that.
But okay, let's step back with the whole like religious thing with Echo for a minute. If like I get his own spiritual journey in what you mentioned earlier, but like wouldn't it have been better to like help her? Like when you see her struggling, like wouldn't that be a more of a nice thing to do?
Yes, I understand. It is a nice thing to do. As human beings, we do want to help each other. And I don't know if people watching this are going to maybe question, or comment on this, but I do know that there are certain spiritual paths like Buddhism and other things like that where they do take a vow of silence for a while. So that may just be part of what again, the walk that he's taken on his path. Maybe that's something he needed at that time. But no, of course, as human beings, we do want to be compassionate and outwardly help each other and support each other. But obviously he had his own thing to do. He was doing his own thing.
I mean, okay.
But his vow of silence, I think, was part of his spirituality.
Maybe that's how he coped at life, because how his life took a dramatic turn as a child.
Right.
Maybe that's how he copes.
It could be. Again, that is something that we do see in the story of, again, the human condition. We do see how each person copes with things. Hurley eats. Charlie does drugs. Jack's an addict. So everybody has a coping mechanism.
Kate annoys everyone.
Kate is
Don't you talk about my Kate now.
She injects herself into every road trip.
I like Kate. I'm a Kate apologist, but
I
do kind of see people's side.
Right. But,
of course.
But as human beings, we all have coping mechanisms and or ways that we manage whatever the enormity of the stress that we're having to deal with is. So I think part of that is Echo's vow of silence was probably partially spiritual in his journey, but also what he needed to maybe detach himself a little bit from the situation. Because Anna's going to make her own mistakes no matter what anybody was going to tell her, not for nothing.
That's
Well,
because that's who she is.
But would Cindy? Well, Cindy ends up missing. Would Bernard and Libby be alive if it weren't for Aunt Lucia?
probably not.
No, she
None of them
really
probably would have
exactly
made
she,
it to the point that they made it.
right. She really did in her Anna Lucia way. Still did manage to keep people alive. She did save people. She did. She just has a very different personality than I'm used to.
I just thought of like a beautiful what could be flash sideways moment of like Anna Lucia, I don't know, seeing Rose and Bernard and like knowing that like she was able to keep him alive long enough for them to reunite.
Reunited.
Oh.
Isn't that right? That would have
she
been
knew
great.
that.
But you know what?
She knew that.
Okay, let's
Yeah,
jump
never
ahead.
mind.
No, but that would have been absolutely beautiful. But if we go to season 6 and we do see Anna in the sideways, what's Anna doing? She's still making bad choices. She's not. She didn't find her way in that sideways.
Well, some people never learned. You got Locke who made the same mistakes he made off the island, on the island.
Right, exactly.
Because of what happened to them. I mean, some people just can't change their course.
Their way, right, exactly. And I think that we see that in season 6 with when Hurley connects with Anna in that few minutes, and she's taking money and she's doing shifty things. So, and she's still just a cop. And I don't mean just a cop, but in her life,
right.
Well,
experience.
If at this point several of the Losties are enlightened, and have figured it out or whatever, and she's still way back here, like you said,
right.
Making side deals or whatever. And I think it goes to show the point at which she had kind of progressed.
Right.
Like at the very
progress.
Yeah, at the very end, the last thing she says is, I can't do this anymore.
Exactly.
And it's almost like that was the first inkling of she's going to change, but she never gets a chance to. And ironically, the same thing happens with Shannon. And she, I need somebody to believe in me. Right. And then what happens? And in the flash sideways, she's one of the, they have to drag her all the way from wherever to get her there. And she's one of the last ones to be awake too. So that's kind of parallels.
Exactly. So, and then we see a little bit of a montage towards the end of that episode about what happened, on their trek, and what happened in their 48 days and how they end up with Jin.
Right, Jin. They find Cindy and Libby find Jin. They question Jin. Jin runs, and then we have the scene where Echo beats the crap out of Sawyer, Michael, and Jin.
Yeah, so like he saw. I'm so glad you brought up the 40 days of silence, because now I'm so annoyed by that for some reason. I'm like,
because now he's beating people up now.
Yeah, now he's beating people up. I'm like, what are you good for? What do you do? You didn't help Anna at all. You just didn't say a word, and now you're like not even. You think these, just like how they thought Nathan was bad, he thinks these are, and he's just going to go whack them.
Right, so, and now I gave you this whole spiritual analogy, and now he's beating people up and throwing them in the pit.
the person they captured, Jin, can't communicate with him.
Right.
So they throw him in the pit then.
Yeah, exactly. He escaped before they could throw him in the pit. They're talking all the different stuff, and then Anna, we see Anna shoots Shannon again, and I know people.
Happy.
Because Anna is a killer.
But in this scene, they just lost Cindy. They hear the whispers, all the just total chaos going on, and she panicked.
But her training as a police officer should have given her enough sense to not be trigger happy like that.
Right,
exactly. That's a situation that she's in.
She probably shouldn't have been put back on the force.
Right.
Oh, I got a lot to say about that.
But that's it. We're seeing someone who's still not learning how to make progress.
Right.
She's still aggressive, and she's still reactionary, and hence now she has taken a life. Another life. Another life.
Yeah. Well, and we move to collision. Anna Lucia is at the gun range. Then we see her seeing a psychiatrist. We find out Danny has left her.
So can I just say something right off the bat for this episode? I think this is a great episode, and at first I was like, oh, Anna Lucia episode, why? Why? But I really do feel like this was a great chance that the writers had to take somebody with a mental illness, with obviously post-traumatic stress disorder, and say, hey, let's take the most honorable, job as a police officer, and let's throw them together and show what happens. And I feel like this episode is pretty much all about mental illness. Throughout the episode, every time, they mention a baby, when she hears the baby, that is a complete trigger for her. We know why, but I feel like this is...
We know now, but we didn't know at the beginning.
Right. But like for a lot of jobs that are held in such high esteem, first responders, even doctors. I mean, look at Jack's dad when he was drinking on the job and it cost the woman her life. When you have issues and problems, you need to get help for them. And especially if your job is taking care of other people, because you're going to directly harm or kill them, and I mean, any job, a teacher, you're going to inadvertently, upset a student or whatever. But I think we need to be, as a society, more aware of the struggles we face and the things, our burdens, and what we need to let go of, and which this is all the show's about. But I feel like they directly were like, mental illness that a cop has, look what happens. Look at how bad it is. And I feel like they did a great job in this episode doing that.
I do as well, because this episode shows us that controlling Ana Lucia is unraveling. We're showing the things that, again, with the triggers. The episode's about collision and conflict, internal and external. It's what we see on the outside happening in the flash and also on Island, but also internal and external, what happened to make her be in this place. But also the other person who's in this kind of same tortured state is Saeed.
Right.
He's still struggling with that. He's making progress. He is making progress, but he's still struggling with it.
Well, you talk. Go ahead.
No, I just wanted to say that up front about the episode as a whole.
I agree.
Because I think in a nutshell, that's kind of the theme.
Well, do you blame her mom? Because her mom's the captain.
Absolutely.
And she's got experience. She knows what's going on. She knows her daughter.
There are several people to blame throughout this episode.
And she wants to put her on a desk job. And Lucia says, no, I want to transfer. So instead of letting her transfer, she says, okay, you can get back on the streets. Right. So you got to blame her mom on that one.
Yeah. Well, her daughter pushed her.
Yeah, her daughter pushed her, but still, you have a job to do. And again, it's not like she doesn't know her history.
Right.
She raised her.
Right. Twofold, as the mother and her boss made the wrong choice to put her back on the street.
I mean, I have 3 kids, and I'm not the perfect parent, but I could tell you, no, you're not doing that because I know I know you. Right.
Absolutely. So, she is a contributor to where that led. Yes.
And, I'm not like anti-law enforcement or whatever, because I think it's a really, respectable job, as is the military. But I feel like you kind of know what you're signing up for. And with that position, you're supposed to, protect people. And all of these actions, even from like her psychiatrist, it's not holding that job up to those standards. Her mom didn't. Her partner didn't, when he just let her grab the talkie and go on their way. And there's something, I'm in weekly therapy, and to hear the doctor when Ana Lucia says, well, the next door neighbors with the crying baby, they've moved out. And and so that noise isn't there anymore. And he's like, oh, well, that's good. And then she says, but now it's too quiet.
Quiet, right?
Right.
That is a sign she is not ready
Yeah.
for any. She should not have a gun in her hand at all. She, like her mom said, she should have a desk job.
Right.
And there's so many problems here that I feel like you signed up to be a police officer. I don't care if it's your daughter or not. You're putting other people in jeopardy, and you need to hold that title to more of, a higher standard.
Right.
Or people are going to get hurt, like what almost happened.
Well, I think what you have too. Well, no, what you have here is
You're
people not understanding the stress, how much stress takes on a person, how the toll it takes on a person. I think we're learning over time, but this is back in 2005.
Yeah.
Season 2. So in 14 years, we've come a little further. I mean, at least it's a conversation people will talk about. Whereas
Right.
before, people never talked about it. It's like, hey, take some pills and you're going to be all fine and all that different stuff. But I think now people, at least they're talking about it. But I think in this episode, obviously 2005, it just, I don't know, there was something about her transferring that the mother said, I need to keep her. If I keep her here,
I need to watch her. I can watch her.
I can
Yeah.
control her, kind of like Anna Lucia is a controlling
Yeah.
person. The mom must be a controlling person.
Right.
So she probably felt she could control Anna Lucia. She puts her with a partner who at least told her to put her gun down.
Right.
When he's the baby starts screaming, she pulls her gun out and the guy drops the TV.
Yeah.
And obviously that wasn't a situation where the gun needed to come out. And the guy says, officer, put your gun down. So,
and I think in this day and age, when you consider like police brutality and things like that, this episode was really kind of ahead of the times a little bit. Because there's been situations where it's like, a policeman has shot somebody and their hands are up and there should have been no reason for a gun to be drawn. And we're seeing that more and more with technology and phones and camera phones and things like that. And I feel like, a lot of times if you say anything negative about police, they think that's just so disrespectful and blah, blah, blah. And here's Lost being like, this can happen to anybody if you have problems, and for them to have her profession be a cop, I think, just like I said, is kind of ahead of the times, and is looking back on it, it really is still a problem,
Yeah. Well, I think we all agree she should not have been back on the force.
Oh no.
She was nowhere near being ready to be back on the force. She just had too much anger in her.
Yep.
And we find out later on what it was. I mean, but going back to the island site, and it goes after Anna Lucia. Echo takes him out. They go fight, and then Anna Lucia knocks Saeed out. And of course, Michael and Jen are like, "What do you do? What is going on here?" And
Michael even says, "Are you crazy?"
Right.
Yeah.
Because she's holding the gun at Libby and Bernard, who've been with her since day one. Who she's protected.
Irrational. She's
At this point,
she's off the rails.
She's lost this because I was going to say, because Echo won't tie him up, so I won't do it.
Right.
And she turns and points the gun at Libby.
Mm-hmm.
You. She doesn't even know who Libby is at this point.
Right.
Because she doesn't call her by name. She says you.
Mm-hmm. It's like
a good point. That's a good point.
It's not like that's it. That she can't see clearly, literally, and she's off the rails. So now it's just.
Well, she knows she shot. She knows she shot an innocent person.
Right.
Right. She knows, and she's just like.
Well,
her whole world's collapsing.
Right. What's interesting is she tells Echo something, and I'm loosely here. She kind of turns to Echo and it's like, he tried to shoot you or something like that. And Echo's like, no, meaning he tried to shoot you because you just killed. So she's not seeing things the way they are. So she's completely irrational.
And then I had a scene that I got to talk about because Jack's filling up the water bottle.
Yeah.
In the water tank, and he's got his dirty hands in the water bottle.
Isn't that disgusting?
I mean, in the water thing, I think that was the worst scene of the whole. I go. That's because Rose.
He's a doctor. Shouldn't he know better?
and then Kate hits a golf ball into the drinking water, and then he reaches his dirty hand. Great. I'm like going, that's the drinking water. I realize you're filling up the bottle, but we don't have another way of doing that.
Right.
Go ahead. I'm just kidding.
No, I was going to say, I do want to say that, it was quite clear that Anna was looking in her flashback, was looking for action in a way to release some aggression, and that was made obvious to me in the therapy session with the interaction with her mom, with the interaction with her partner. It's like, and I said, I wrote down, everyone around her, therapist, mom, partner, fails to see it or just doesn't want to.
But here's the thing: we also see her at the gun range, so she's that's the only thing she can control is the gun, really.
Yeah.
So that's how that whole thing starts off. Is she's at the shooting range and she's in target practice. So that is her release. That's the only thing.
She's a pretty good shot.
She's a pretty damn good shot. So, but yeah, it's
unfortunately for Shannon.
Yeah, but that's her only. Yeah. I think that she feels that she can control.
She has to have a weapon.
She has to have. Oh, yeah. Right. Yeah. Some sort of.
It's a security
togetherness.
blanket.
It's in a way, yeah. That's the thing she knows.
When was the first time she got a gun on the island? Do we know?
When she took it, she takes it from Sawyer.
Right.
When she pretends to be, when she tells go to punch her and she throws, they throw her in a pit. She takes Sawyer's gun.
Right.
Okay. Because I was thinking she had a stick, I think, or like maybe a walking stick for a while.
She made like the hockey stick type thing.
Yeah, but once she had that gun in her hand, I think she felt.
Then there was a connection made. Mm-hmm. Right. I have my power back.
Yeah.
So
the control.
This is the thing I know, and I've got it back.
Yeah.
So
and she thought everything was under control again, but then Cindy's lost. People aren't doing what they want. She kills Shannon. Everything's spiraling out of control, and here we are.
Jack's putting his dirty hands in the clean water. It's just all crazy.
Lucky Anna didn't see that. She would have just shot him on sight.
Well, to be honest, I would have had no issue with that. It's my drinking water, and you're putting your dirty hands in. You're a doctor. You should know better.
Yeah, but you're right. Exactly. He is. He's a doctor. You can't do that.
Should be like this, Anyway. Echo puts Sawyer on his and carries him. I'm going to carry him to the camp because Anna's ordered them to take apart the stretcher to tie Saeed up
to a tree. Poor Saeed tied to a tree again.
Well, he put up a fight there. He was using some aggression too. I think he would have got his hands on her. He would have killed her in that moment.
Oh, he would. I think he would have killed her. Yeah, without Echo, I think because I don't think Michael or Jen would have stopped him.
I think they were saying like stop, but I think they were kind of stop.
But no, I totally agree.
Bernard, do something.
Try
Bernard,
not to do it. Just stop.
Yeah.
It was so funny. I was rewatching this. This was years ago with a friend. I don't know if she ever finished it, but she, I always love Libby, and in that scene, Libby just does not. If you hear her, she's like, "What is going on with Anna?" And she's like, "Anna." And if you it's almost comedic the way she says it. Anna, like she's 2 years old. Like, Anna, what are you doing?
Well, I think at this point, Bernard and Libby have they just have had it with they're happy that I think they're happy because even Bernard says, "Yeah, I know I'm alive because of you, but I need to see my wife."
Yeah,
right.
And Libby's like, "I can't be a part of this anymore. I need to."
Because they see how irrational she is.
Again, though, Libby was partly to blame for Nathan dying.
Right. Well, yeah, that's true. Yes.
But they kind of all were,
Yeah.
Cindy was too.
Right. But then Michael tells he gives Saeed water. He goes, "Shoot me. Are you going to shoot me? I don't care at this point. Just shoot me.
You're all a bunch of whack jobs. Just shoot me already."
And then Michael tells because Saeed's looking at him. He goes, "Yeah, the others have Walt. They took Walt."
Yeah.
And then Kate and Jack are playing golf.
Yes, Jake Tom.
Yeah, but Kate's a better golfer than Jack.
He doesn't.
Of course she is, because of course she is.
She's Kate. I mean, she does. I'll be honest with you. She does have a better swing.
Jack's like, "You want to play golf? I'm a doctor, right?"
But then she gets that strange look. He goes, "Are you going to move?" And she turns around and they see Echo carrying Sawyer, and he goes, "Where's the doctor?"
Yeah.
And of course, he finds the doctor. They bring Sawyer to the hatch.
Kate's like, you can have it now, Jack. The game's over. Good luck. You said you were the doctor. So.
My boyfriend's back, so I'm happy. John and Echo meet, which is, leads to some great scenes later on in other episodes.
Can I say one thing about John Locke when we get to the hatch down there?
Yes.
Okay, John Locke's doing his crossword puzzle while he's waiting for push the button. He's so into this puzzle. Okay, we could see how kind of you see in the scene, he's just into it. Nothing else around him is phasing him for a few minutes. He's really into it. People are coming in, they're carrying, Sawyer and everything. Goes over to Jack and asks Jack, what's going on, what happened. Meanwhile, the button thing is beeping. It's almost like he's so distracted for a minute. That wasn't his first priority, was to hit the button. It wasn't. He was distracted by other things. Again, we have an example of John being distracted.
Over here, John.
Over here. Look, a butterfly.
Well, Jack tells him. Well, Jack tells him, John.
You gonna get that? Yeah, you're gonna get that.
The button.
Oh, I was gonna get that. He's getting my hair done.
But he does meet Echo, and they're very cordial to each other. It's very polite introduction to each other.
Lock. I'm trying to spell the word button here, Jack.
I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought there. Anna sends Michael back to get supplies. She needs half the ammunition. She wants a backpack full of stuff. And she's just going to, her thought is, I'm going to go leave. I'm just going to go leave.
She's going to let everybody go. She's going to let everybody go reluctantly, as long as she gets her survival kit and socks and everything. But she's going to hold on to Saeed until, Michael comes back. But everybody else can go.
Is this a good plan?
I feel like it's a little bit of her recognizing I'm no good for anybody. I keep killing people. I just need to get away from them.
Well, that's because
to keep me safe, whatever.
Well, Saeed's getting in her head a little bit too, when he's having that few moments with her alone or whatever, saying, you really don't have you don't have anything. You don't have a plan. All you have is a gun. Again, reiterating the fact that the only power she has is her gun. She's so lost everywhere else. She only has this gun. And then, Saeed kind of gets to her saying, we're both kind of in that same idea where we're tortured in a way, and we're carrying this baggage around with us, and look what it's doing. It's, and you're carrying
tearing us apart. Yeah.
It's right. Okay. You're carrying this baggage around, and yet you're hurting all these other people, so I think he kind of gets in her head a bit.
Well, I also think she's not just worried about Saeed. I think she tells Libby or Bernard, I can't remember which one it was, but she says, I killed one of them.
Right. They're not going to welcome me.
They're not going to welcome me in. I killed one of them.
Right.
So she's not only worried about Saeed, she's worried about being accepted in the camp.
Right.
So, and I think we're going way ahead. I think seeing Jack, because they had a connection at the airport.
Yeah.
I think that's what said, she goes, okay, I can go there.
Right.
I have an in.
Right.
That scene, that last scene where they're looking at each other is just, you get the feels. Not like with any relationship thing, but just the fact that he looks at her like, but
again, it's connection. It's connection. Everybody is connected somehow.
Because before that, Jack was like, let's get the guns. Let's go get them.
Right.
And then they mention Ana Lucia, and he's like,
yeah.
Oh, I know her. This changes things for me. And then it's almost, if you want to see a face that just says pity, that's exactly how Jack was looking at her.
Right,
and it's kind of heartbreaking.
Well, he knows he's made mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So he probably, I think he has a terrible bedside manner, but at least at this point he had some compassion for her.
Yeah.
But going back to where the thing, they find the person that has confessed to attacking her, has a long list of crimes, Jason McCormick, and she says it's not him.
By the way, he was picked up in Echo Park.
Yes.
Yeah, I noticed that.
Yes.
But before that, Anna's partner does specifically say, because he's angry at her, for what happened because he had to calm her down. And he was like, anytime there's a yo-yo, you're going to pull out a gun.
Right.
And as audience members were like, yes, you shouldn't have done that,
Right.
No.
Right.
But once again, it was the baby screaming
Trigger, yeah.
that was the trigger for her.
Yep.
So anyway,
but yeah, they caught the guy. He confesses, but Anna swears to her mother, no, that's not him. Meanwhile, everybody knows it's him.
Well, she knows he's lying.
Of course.
Okay, here's what I'm saying. If he confessed, why was he released?
Right. He would just been arrested.
He confessed. He's in custody. He confessed. Right. I don't know why just because she won't testify. He confessed.
Right. He confessed. I know it's TV. I guess we got to go with it.
Okay. All right.
But it's true. But again, here's Anna being in control of the situation.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, where but that's what I'm saying. With her mother, she didn't even care that her mother said, "I have the guy." He confessed. She told her mother, "Oh, really? Well, I'm telling you, it ain't." So yeah. So she actually kind of trumped her mother, so to speak, and that's her being controlling. Obviously, she had a motive for that.
This is where I wrote down in my notes. Okay, we're at the point where she is just a bad cop. The definition of a bad cop. She's not caring anything about the law or the way it works. She's wanting to take matters into her own hands for revenge, and that's the worst type of cop there can be.
But she's a bad person.
Yeah. Yeah.
Unless it's Liam Neeson or Charles Bronson, it doesn't work.
True. That's true.
I said she selfishly allowed the criminal to go,
right?
Thus potentially causing other people to get hurt, just
because it wasn't a random thing,
right?
She even did. I think
the mom was like, "Yeah, do you want him to be out there hurting other people?" And
as a matter of fact, he got picked up assaulting an old lady in Echo Park or something like that.
Yep.
Right? Yeah.
I mean, she doesn't care.
He's going to do it again. But again, why is he on the streets? He assaulted an older woman in Echo Park.
I don't know. Is that like a big plot hole?
Maybe it could be.
Well, I'm just saying he had a long list of things. He had.
Right.
I don't know why but I guess it makes for good television that.
Right.
I guess, but anyway, Locke asks Echo what happened. He tells him that Shannon. Well, he tells him a tall girl with blonde hair was shot, and of course, right away, Locke knows it was Shannon. And so that Jack is working on Sawyer. Kate helps, and there's that awkward where Kate, Jack's had Sawyer to, Jack's had Kate to himself for a while, since the raft took off, and they've kind of, and all of a sudden, Kate just is, whispering in his, Sawyer's ear, take the pill, do all this stuff, and he goes, I never was taught at medical school to whisper in someone's ear. You can tell Jack is just. Jack goes, okay, I have to save him, but
thank God Kate's here.
was he happy about having to save Sawyer?
I think his obligation is to save Sawyer because he is a doctor. He does a doctor could do no harm. You have to act in.
Oh, he's gonna save him because he's Jack.
Right, because he's Jack,
and he holds that profession to the standard which it should be held.
Right. Right. I think he's a little jealous that Kate can get Sawyer
a little jealous.
I think he's a little jealous.
I don't like Sawyer. The only time I ever liked him was when he was Juliet. When he was with Juliet.
I knew what you meant.
Yeah.
I didn't see that episode.
It's in the lost. It's in the lost episode. Lost episode.
The Mobisodes.
Yeah,
or whatever webisodes, whatever they were called at the time. But he was just like just mean. Anyway,
but you see, again, I hate to defend people, but you see his backstory.
Right, there's a reason
and you can understand he wants to hurt people before he's hurt.
Right.
Again, it doesn't justify what he's doing, but
yeah,
you see his backstory. You go, oh my God, what happened to him as a kid? How do you survive something like that? So you kind of see it, but. There's no excuse to treat people like crap, but
He's the wounded child who's now an adult who's still living in that wounded child's body and soul.
He just needed someone like Juliet, to make him whole again. Yeah. He was the Grinch, and his heart grew 3.5 sizes.
Well, also just, oh my gosh, I feel like if we had a proper healthcare system
but that's what this show is about. This show is about lost people. They are emotionally lost, and
it's like mental, therapy would have been worked wonders on these people.
Right. Well, that's what the island is for.
Yeah, you're right.
That's what the island adventure is for. It is to help them reach that place.
I just feel like humanely, if you go through something like Sawyer did at a young age, my tax dollars should go to paying for your therapy for years. I mean, it should, and in a better world, maybe so.
Right.
But yes, they're all flawed, but he may have not have been so angry and had killed and hurt as many people as he did had he had the help he needed and deserved after going through that.
That's what I think that what's happening with the island adventure is we have these adults who are in that place, and that's what it's for.
I love how you say island adventure.
That's what it is.
I love it.
The island journey. I usually call it an island adventure. I love it. Or the island journey. It's always one of the two because that's
like Gilligan's Island. That was an adventure, right?
That was an adventure, but this island serves a purpose for helping you learn things and learn about yourself, learn to let go of things, and then reach maybe a stage of enlightenment where you're reborn, because the island is life, death, and rebirth. That's exactly what these people are going through. And the hardest part of all of it is when, that's exactly what we see them go through, is a life, death, and rebirth through this emotional journey.
It's like Locke said in the episode "And Found," I'm no longer lost.
Right. Exactly.
I would argue with him, but that's okay.
Well, but it's progress. It's progress. Yes. Yeah.
By the way, there's 4 chapters in my book, and they are called Birth, Life, Death, and Rebirth. So.
Yeah.
Thanks for bringing that up.
You're welcome.
Bernard goes to Anna, and he goes, "Look, I know I'm alive because of you, but I want to see my wife." Yeah. And so Libby goes, "Yeah, I'm heading off too." And she says, "Jen, you can go too." So just leaves her and
peace out. We're going.
Saeed. Michael sees Son, tells him Jen's okay, but I need to find Jack. Mm-hmm. And then Jack is questioning Echo, kind of like he talks to Locke.
Yeah.
Because Jack, I think the stress of Jack being a leader has just gotten to him. He just is not cut out for it, and he just doesn't know how to talk to people anymore.
Right.
Not that he ever did. But he's more, and I think Echo's the last person I'd be yelling at.
Right. But again, Jack again is stubborn and controlling. He is. He does have those traits. But now Jack's getting worked up, and he wants to know. And Echo kind of sees that there's guns in the hatch.
Right.
And once Echo kind of Echo's good at reading the room. So once he kind of saw that, he's like, I'm not. These people are already angry and they have weapons. I'm not telling them where Anna is. I can't. That's wrong.
Well, he says Anna Lucia made a mistake, and you see Jack going, "Oh, I know her."
Right. Mm-hmm. Then that changes things.
Yeah, he'll take Jack, but no guns.
Right.
And Jack agrees.
Right.
He tells let's see. Then they get Saeed and Anna talking. He tells Anna Lucia he has tortured a lot of people. He's done a lot of, he was talking about how he tortured Sawyer. Didn't mention by name, but telling his life and stuff like that. Then we go back to off the island. Anna follows Jason outside, tells him she was pregnant, and just puts a lot of bullets into him.
Right.
Kills Jason.
Yeah. Hence.
So now we understand why the baby trigger is a trigger. Why the babies are a trigger for her.
Right. That's the thing that broke her. That's the thing that she's carrying all this time and does not know how to handle. So
right.
We understand why Anna is who she is, but those events made Anna, that traumatic event made Ana Lucia Cortez a killer. It is what it is.
Yeah, can't argue with you there.
Yeah.
This happened, relatively close to the plane crash, because she then, she goes to Australia and all that, and, everything. And then she's on her way. It's like every time she starts to take ownership for what she's done, like, okay, that phone call with her on the phone with her mom is like heartbreaking. And she's like, I'll come home, knowing what's going to await her when she gets there. But then she didn't get to. And I feel like she had, whereas Sawyer had like, a trauma when he was younger, which kind of reverberated into his adulthood, and he had kind of countless times to change the way he was. Hers happened pretty fairly recently to the crash, and then you have a huge trauma with the crash of the plane. So she, as much as we like to say she's trigger happy and aggressive and all that, she was just on just on a roll nonstop for her. And,
she was on a collision course.
Right.
Well, as the tell section,
that's true at Jack.
Yeah, it is. I mean, every night they were being kidnapped and things like that. She hadn't had a break in a long time. And that's all she's known for a while. And so it's understandable to see her backstory and to know why she's acting the way she is on the island. However, at the end of the day, I feel like she is the most irredeemable character on the show.
Yeah.
But it may be because of what I just mentioned.
Right. And you can see when she
didn't
has
have
that.
a chance,
right. I guess not. But you know what? I feel like, like you said, with the call with her mom, she's exhausted over all of this. She's emotionally exhausted. She's physically exhausted. I can't do this anymore. You could see she's even broken from not just the trauma and everything else. She's exhausted over everything, because emotional trauma and baggage is very heavy and it's exhausting.
Mm-hmm.
And I can see that in her when she's telling that to her mother. I can't do this anymore. I want to come home. And she really does want to come home. But I don't feel like she ever found a way to heal herself.
Well, like Caleb said, that she was coming home. We all agree she wanted to go home, but then she was thrown into a situation which was worse than what she was dealing with.
Right.
For it just was, and like you said, Caleb, she never had a break. There was never a chance to sleep, never a chance to eat properly, never a chance to just be.
So with all those things, you can't heal. You can't heal.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's almost impossible to. And then she's put into a position where she can't even really get the help that she needs.
Right.
The only connection she has is that one little chance meeting of Jack at the bar, and then at the end of the episode, she's like that one sliver of a connection, which I guess makes her stay at the camp and have a little bit of hope.
Yeah.
But I did write down that I wonder if she became a cop because she really wanted to, or if it was just because of her mom. Because I do not think she was good in that profession at all. And
she was not cut out for that position.
Well, we don't know how she was before she was shot and lost a baby. That could have been her trigger. Again, she should have. You can go, okay. She should have never been. I think we all agree she should have never been allowed back in the force at that point.
But did she become a police officer because, like Jack says about him being the doctor? Well, I was kind of born into it. So was Ana Lucia born into being a cop? Was that just part of the natural progression for her because it was a family?
And you have a lot of families that are like that. I know a lot of families that their grandfather's a cop, their dad was a cop, they became a cop.
Mm-hmm.
Well, her mom was also. I mean, when the episode starts out, I mean, you're like, okay, Anna has some issues. She's in therapy or whatever. But her mom, you're almost like, gosh, this must not be too good of a relationship here, because her mom is just kind of snippy, and you're not really sure why she was off the force in the first place. And her mom just seems controlling.
There was no peace between them. There was no peace. It wasn't calm, But
And I think the actress that played her mom also played a cop in Falling Down. I could be wrong, but I think I remember her being.
that could be, yeah.
See, and if you think about it, Anna was in, I think he had said 4 months of therapy, which is not long enough, by the way. But, or you said more than enough?
No, yeah, one of the numbers.
Oh, yeah. I was like, oh, I just said not enough. But, you know, she was in therapy, I assume, to get over the fact that she was shot and lost her, you know, baby. But then when she gets back on the force and, you know, the doctor allows, you know, her mom doesn't even act too happy to even see her. It's not like, oh, I'm so glad you're, you know, can come back. You know, listen, we're going to put you behind the desk for a little while. I know you're not going to like it, but she's just like, here's your papers.
Right. And even when she's like, she says, the guy comes in and says, Anna, there's a call for you in the bullpen. And the mother goes, they got you a cake. Try and act surprised.
Yeah.
It's like, what is that? What is that?
Yeah. I mean, they obviously don't have a good relationship.
So maybe similar, I think you mentioned it, Caleb, a similar relationship that Jack had with his dad, Anna Lucia had with her mom.
Again, there's mirroring going on with both sides.
Yes.
Well, who even had a good relationship with their dad? Jen and his father? Out of the whole show? Well, his father was like the nicest parent on the show, I guess.
Yeah.
But everybody else, I mean, it was all family problems everywhere.
Yep.
Well, Anna Lucia cuts him loose, Saeed loose, gives him the gun, and Saeed goes, nope, you're already dead.
Exactly.
You're already dead inside.
He could tell because she told him the story of what happened to her, and I think at that point, he's progressed enough to have
realize
empathy.
Yeah.
And that's a really strong growth point that I don't think, and I know personally that I don't give Saeed enough credit for, of losing Shannon, but still being able to see it from Anna Lucia's point of view when really it's one-sided. She was trigger happy or whatever. But to understand what she went through, he knew he was able to have empathy for her, even though he lost the person he loved.
Well, we could see that Saeed has been making progress while on the island, because even though he does get into this whole thing where he does torture Sawyer and everything, he's so guilt-ridden over it because he swore he'd never do it again. That he goes away to go on a walk to again, sometimes you got to separate yourself from everything, have your own time to walk that path. Okay, I mean, he runs into Rousseau and other shenanigans ensue, but he does feel guilt over it, and he knows he doesn't want to do it again. So he takes steps to try to make himself a better person than he was the day before, which is the goal. You hope to find a way to make yourself a better person than you were the day before.
Right. And then we have the montage, the great music. We have Kate is by Sawyer's side. Vincent runs to Michael, which is great because they never had a great relationship, right? Michael.
All he has is the dog.
Yeah. Charlie sees Jen. Everybody's running up to Jen, and Livy and Bernard come around the corner. Rose and Bernard reunite. So it's like, oh my God.
Yeah.
It was beautiful. It was so
the music.
It's just a perfect, traumatic episode with a lot going on, but then they wrap it up with the great music. And then you have, like I said, Rose and Bernard, and then you have Jen and Son reunite, which was great. And then Jack sees Saeed and carrying Shannon, and that's sad. And then him and Anna Lucia, like you said, they connect. Yeah. And it's like, I know what you've been through.
Yeah.
And that's how it ended.
And I also feel bad for Shannon because, she, like we mentioned earlier, she was at the point of, oh, I need somebody to believe in me. And there's that scene in the finale in season 1 when she's trying to carry all of Boone's stuff, and she's like, it's too heavy. And Saeed's like, I'll carry it for you. And I'm like, oh my God. My God. He's literally carrying it for her.
Right. Literally, because she's metaphorically carrying all that pain. We're physically seeing it in baggage, but that, metaphorically, and then he's willing to carry that burden for her. And I thought it was just so beautiful. And that's that's again steps towards, the right path.
Yeah, and they made a big deal about, Locke having that conversation with Shannon about everybody gets a new life on this island. It's time, that you start yours and things like that. And I guess there could have been more potential there. I feel like maybe, I don't know.
With Shannon?
She could have stayed in a little bit longer. I don't know.
I like I said, I think I said the last episode I did where if they didn't have Shannon's backstory, her death wouldn't have meant much to me.
Now her backstory broke me.
Yeah, because her backstory is like, oh, well, now I can see. Again, I always go back. Now I see why she was the way she was and how she just didn't want to help and, how everything was happening. She was kind of, her dad dies and her stepmom treats her like garbage. So
didn't help her. Had a 1 in a million chance,
right.
And was talented enough to make it, and just needed a little bit more.
Well, let me ask you guys this. Right, but let me ask you guys this. Yes, she needed somebody to believe in her. She did need help. Playing devil's advocate for a second, is there any part of you that sees it as the mom just giving her the stepmother giving her some tough love? It came off very cocky, and it came off very, I understand that, but she's saying your track record is saying you tried this, you tried this, you tried this. You have to find your own way. Do you see it as a little bit of a tough love thing?
Kind of. I mean, you have to let your kids make their own mistake, but I think there was she got a scholarship. I think I'm sorry, not a scholarship. She had an internship. So look, this is the deal. You follow through with this, I'll support you.
Right.
You back out of this.
Yeah.
I'm done.
Right.
I mean, she just lost her dad.
Right.
I don't think it was. Yeah, and I mean, give her a break. She just lost her dad. So what if she's not committing to something or whatever?
Right.
I don't feel like it's. I feel like it would have been tough love, except for the fact that she was like, I just got this internship. I was like, out of a million applicants, I did it. I just need you to help me in New York, and then I'll be good.
And then
and she's like, nope. She basically like screwed her future just there.
She didn't even tell her. She didn't even tell her she was cutting her off.
Right. She just
found out checks are bouncing all over the place.
The checks are bouncing, and then she also, when she reaches out to Boone, the mother had given him an opportunity to kind of separate him from Shannon. So so she does kind of cut Shannon off from everything.
She no longer had the need for Shannon because her husband, Shannon's dad, had died.
Right, it's over. That part's all over. So
that's why I don't even consider it any type of love, because I don't think the stepmom truly loved Shannon.
Yeah,
she was with the dad to get the money, and then he dies, and she doesn't care anything about Shannon. She can't tough love her if she doesn't love her in the first place.
That is true. Yes, that's true.
There's ways to do it. Obviously, you don't want to coddle someone their whole life.
Right.
But at this point, she had, like I said, if she was just sitting around sleeping 18 hours a day and had no options, and I'd say, look, okay, I'm not going to help you out until you do something.
Yeah, get off your butt. Yeah.
She had gotten something that, like Caleb said, that was, not everybody gets.
Right. Yeah.
So.
And the stepmom's living in this nice house with all this nice jewelry and clothes, and it's like, you can't tell me that you can't just help her go to New York or wherever she wants to go for a while. I mean, so anyway, I feel like Shannon, I don't know, it was that flashback. I was like, no, don't die. You had potential. No, dang it. I mean, it wasn't like I'm going to stop watching kind of thing, but it was just like, oh, the potential we realized, and it's too late, And now we have Anna Lucia to deal with. But only for a little bit longer.
But again, I love the fact that we did get a character that could make us feel disdained for somebody, because for me, she was irritating. But I love the fact that that's what the character was. She was irritating.
That's great acting.
It is. So
yeah, I mean, she's a great actress.
It all served its purpose. I understand it and respect it, and it made me not like her. but it was all part of the character development. You can't. There's people that you love, people you don't like, and people that grate on you. And she was just somebody that I just.
Well, again, I
deal with.
said it 1,000 times on this rewatch, and 1,000 times since Lost came on. The show is so good because the writing, the music, the acting, the directing. I mean, you care about. I mean, to be. I don't know how long it's been since Ana Lucia was a character on the show, since 2005, right? 14 years later, we're still, right. she still has left her mark,
right,
on us, and that's just a great television.
Exactly, and I love it, and I wouldn't trade one bit of it.
It's weird rewatching it because every time, Juliet's always going to be my favorite, hands down, every time. But the last time I rewatched it, it was before we went to Hawaii, which is where me and my husband got married, and I just remember, when it was on air, I would always be on Lostpedia and the forums there and things like that, and I was always Team Jack, when the camp split apart and all that, and after like the rewatch, I never really just hated Locke. I was just like, he's cool, but Jack's my favorite. He's better. But after rewatching it, I just can't stand a lot of what Locke does. I'm like, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing? He's
a selfish person.
He's wanting everybody to stay, and it's like, if they want to leave, let them leave. Like, stop. Like, I get that the island's magical, and he recognizes that. Or he thinks that it is and thinks his way is the right way, but it comes off as like, my religion is the right one. Come here. I'm going to force you to come here at gunpoint, type of a thing, So with rewatches, it's very interesting how you're like, oh, don't really like that character. Because when we were rewatching it, I was like, this is the episode with Ana Lucia, and Luke my husband would be like, oh God, I hate these episodes. And I was like, now I know she's irritating, but you have to understand. And her last episode, I like more than, this one, but, even Luke's like, and it made me feel more, I understood what he was saying, some of this stuff, there's no excuse for what she did. She crossed line after line after line. Now, was she flawed and, suffering from a mental illness and dealing with traumas that she's endured? Absolutely. But, just because trauma, I'm going to go all mental health here. Just because you suffer traumas doesn't mean, we all have, different ways we cope and things like that, but it doesn't mean, like in Sawyer's case, like it doesn't, just because you were treated bad or whatever, doesn't mean you have to treat others badly.
Right.
And I feel like there, with my own, like post-traumatic stress disorder, there may be times when, I have high anxiety or a panic attack or something like that, but I've never went out of my way to maliciously hurt somebody, obviously kill somebody like the show. And it's just sort of like, deal with your issues, please, people.
But some people don't recognize they even have issues.
And that's a problem.
Right, that's a problem. But as much as I have this, I can't stand Ana Lucia, I'm still glad that we had her. I'm glad that we got to see a character on the show that was flawed, that had a very hard time trying to find their way. So I'm still, I am still glad we had her.
For sure.
Well, all of them, like Locke, the show doesn't work without Locke.
Right.
I'm like you, Caleb. There was times I was like, God, he's just so. But he just wanted to. When you see his backstory, you go, oh my God, everything he just wanted acceptance. He just wanted to be loved. He wanted people. He was a smart guy. He was in the perfect element for him. He was, he trained for a walkabout in Australia. So he knew how to survive on this island. And if he just would have accepted that, but once he saw whatever he saw in the smoke monster, which was beautiful to him, that got in his head. Smokey got in his head and completely ruined any chance he had. Because like when Boone dies, he goes, it was a sacrifice. He even says it later on to Jack. It's what the island wanted. It's a sacrifice the island demanded.
Mhm.
And Jack's like, look, I think that's when Jack just said, okay, I'm done with this guy.
Right.
He said, Kate, I need you on my side because this guy, and he does start treating Locke a lot worse because I think he just realizes this guy's just crazy.
We're gonna have a Locke problem.
Right.
Yeah. Well, you know, at one point, Rose is like, I'm not going anywhere with that guy. When they split, Rose is like, I'm not going. Because Bernard's like, I'll go with whoever you want to go. Rose is,
right.
Even she's like, you know.
And it's a shame because he had such a traumatic, I mean, his dad stole his kidney. He could have just, you know, if dad would have just came and said, hey, I'm your biological father. Sorry, I wasn't in your life, but I need a kidney. Locke was sure. All they had to do is hang around. All they had to do is hang around him once in a while, and he would have been fine. But no, that's just not the way, you know, Anthony Cooper is.
Well, you know, Karen, you talk about like the island adventure and how the island is like basically their psychiatrist or whatever.
Yeah.
But like, why couldn't Jacob just sit him down in a circle and talk to him?
Because you have to walk your path. That's why.
But Jacob is flawed.
But
Jacob is the villain of this show.
Wait till we get to him.
I've had many
arguments
with people that Jacob. I go, he's not a good guy. He's not. He wanted to win the game, and he let a lot of people die.
Okay, but again, Jacob was carrying what his mother piled on him.
Again, I get it, but
yeah. Does it make it right? No, absolutely not. Doesn't make it right.
It also goes along the lines of, you know,
the cycles didn't get broken until, you know, that's the thing. That's another emotional thing is these cycles that some people have.
Or is it still going on? We don't know with
exactly.
Paul running the island with Hurley is.
Could be.
And you know, hurt people, and that's, you know, a big saying, and that's a lot of what the show is.
Right.
They're hurting each other because they're all hurt in some form.
And that's all they know.
So if Ana Lucia is the most irredeemable character, albeit still, who's next?
I said a lot about Susan, Walt's mom.
Okay, who's next out of like main?
I don't know if she's next, but she was a terrible person.
Oh, she was, yeah. Well,
very selfish.
Kate's mom, Kate's dad, all those people. But like, who's like would be out of like the main, somebody who was in the main cast at any point throughout the show, who would be?
I think Michael didn't fully get redeemed. He was taking his time trying to find his way, and I think he struggled with moving on and letting go of things. He you know, but
I think killing somebody did a lot to him.
Well, sure.
I think Michael is a killer.
Michael's what he did.
He crossed the line.
When you cross the line, and you know, you could. I think he's a character that would have taken much longer.
We're getting way ahead of ourselves here.
Yeah.
Did Michael do it to get Walt back?
How many people would you kill to get your son back?
However many it took.
Yeah. So.
Okay.
Yeah, there's that.
I always believe.
I was a killer.
Ana Lucia was. They told Michael to kill Ana Lucia because she killed Goodwin.
Right.
And she also.
Right, and Libby was a mistake.
Libby was just an accident. So, I mean, it happened.
Like Hurley said. But if you know, what did he say? He was like,
well, what if you didn't have to kill them or whatever? Yeah.
He was like, you still would have done it though.
Yeah.
And Michael was like, yeah. And
because,
okay.
Right, because here's the thing. There's a line in the show, Adam, we don't want to go into whole other episodes and things, trust me. But Kate's mother says to Kate when she kills the father in the explosion, you didn't kill him for me. You killed him for you. So and Kate's father, the one that was in the army, says, I can't kill people because I don't have hate in my heart. I don't have murder in my heart. You know, so not everybody has that in their heart to do that.
Mhm.
So that example is really, murder is a personal self, one-on-one thing.
But I think it's also the experiences you go through, because Kate's father didn't go, or who you just quoted, didn't go through the abuse that Kate and her mom did. And I think that Kate's mom was so brainwashed. I think Kate was justified in doing what she did. And I think she also did it for her mother, even if her mom doesn't think that. But that's what I think.
Or something was also happening to Kate.
Oh, I think absolutely the way he grabbed her in that scene. Yeah, for sure.
So there was double.
Yeah.
But my next probably most irredeemable character would probably be Ben.
Yeah, I would agree so.
Because he just did. I would agree with that. He would have to do a lot to make up for all the stuff he did.
Yeah.
But he had a chance to move on for some reason. Let's see. But Michael, no. Michael's just in the whispers.
That's right. He's stuck there.
Just for. And so he even went back.
Yeah.
He even went back to like help everybody to make amends, which I guess.
And Michael helped in the episode before. Sawyer didn't want to help Michael. He said, it's every man for himself. He even says something when Michael overhears him, yet Michael is still helping Sawyer. Up until that point, up until he kills Ana Lucia, Michael is a pretty good guy.
Yeah, he just wants to get his kid. Yeah.
Wants to get his. I mean, and we see, going back to his flashback, how his kid was taken away from him. He had no contact. He loved his son, and his mom selfishly took him away and wanted him nothing to do with him. Didn't even give him the cards he was sending, the drawings and stuff. Michael wasn't going to let that happen again.
Right, but
so he was going to do anything he could to keep him.
Right, but unfortunately, murder now gave him a whole other set of baggage that he has to manage. And
he had trouble living with that too.
Right, exactly. So,
and I think, unfortunately, we mentioned earlier how Shannon died right after she kind of started to progress, and Ana Lucia the same way. With that last statement she makes, you're like, she's going to change or wants to. And then, who were we talking about before I started talking?
Michael.
Yeah. So, and then, Michael, wants to change, and then he dies, fairly early on as well. And on one hand, I'm kind of like, I'm not sure how I feel about that, because it almost implies that people who live longer are able to, I don't know, let go easier, or people who are lucky enough to live longer are able to
redeem themselves.
Yeah, have more of a chance to redeem themselves. And I don't know if I buy into that, but that does seem like a little bit of a trend there,
I always feel like there's a line, and if you cross that line, I'm not gonna. There's certain things in life that you do. I'm not gonna forgive you myself.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's always not up to me. I mean, but if you do certain things,
I think that everybody has their own line, and I think that in the show, murder is, when is it justified? Self-defense. Obviously, Ana Lucia's wasn't either time that we saw. Going back to the Kate thing, my family has a history of pretty much a very similar circumstance. So that's why I am like, yep, she should have done it. She did it for herself to save her mom, years of abuse, whatever. But then you have like Jack's dad, who got too drunk and then just killed the woman on the table who was pregnant also.
Exactly.
So then it's like, no.
Which triggered Jack to report his dad.
Yeah.
Tell the truth.
And have a lot of, this inner conflict, because that was a line that Jack wouldn't cross.
Right.
So there's a lot of murder in this show.
Well, it's life, death, and rebirth.
Well, this has been a great talk. I mean, we're almost at 2 hours.
Is that
Oh
a
my
record?
gosh.
Is that a record?
No, actually, the last one was 2 hours and 3 minutes.
Uh-oh.
We got
So-
4 minutes to go. What do you want to say?
Anything else?
No, I thought they were great episodes. As much as I have issue with the particular character, it doesn't matter. I still think they were great episodes, and I thought we got a lot of insight to
Great
Broad
episodes
people.
back to back. I mean,
Yeah.
that's the it just they keep just rolling out.
yeah.
And you forget, like I said, I knew that another the other 48 days was really good, but Collision I couldn't really remember it.
Yeah.
It's been about 4 or 5 years since I've seen it. When I started watching, I go, oh, I really like this episode.
Yeah.
Season
So-
2 is actually my least favorite. And I think it's because the first few episodes, it's like from different point of views, you know? So you have like Kate, like who's in the crawling
Cage.
around in the,
Oh,
Crawl
the
space, yeah.
crawl
The
space,
hatch,
the hatch, yeah.
and then like, you know, Locke and them, and they're all in there. And like, it doesn't feel like the on island story it's just budging, you know,
Right.
scooting along. And then you have this, which I thought was a welcomed break because I love the other 48 days as in an episode in itself. It's just great seeing, and I think they deserved a whole episode devoted to them because of so much happened, and it was a great way to introduce you to new characters. But yeah, I think it was just kind of slow in the beginning, and I'm not that big of a fan of Echo. Even more so now after you pointed that out about the whole being silent thing. I didn't even think about how much that annoyed me until you mentioned that. And I'm like, I can't get over that still. Like,
Let it go, Caleb. Let it go.
I'm going to be silent for 40 days and not help y'all at all. And then when people wash up on the beach, I'm going to beat them with my stick.
Well, that's what I do. You know, every 40 days I beat someone up and then I don't talk.
But yeah, anyway, I think that they're all, you know, great characters.
Because it's a great show.
Yeah.
The best.
Anyway,
Well, y'all had me mention, you know, when I started, and I know Karen, I think you started like from the get-go.
Yeah.
Watching the first episode. Did you?
now I started in season 2. I mean, season 1 had ended and was getting ready to start. And Jay got the DVDs and he goes, do you want to watch this show Lost? And I go, and my wife and I and Jay, we sat down I go, we're never going to finish it in time because the show was starting, I think, that the next week. I said, there's no way we're going to be able to finish because, like you said, binging wasn't a big deal. I think the first night we watched 12 or 13 episodes.
Oh my God.
It was like 6 a.m. and we kept going, one more. And so finally we said, all right, I'm getting punchy here. And so the next day so in 2 days we finished season 1.
Wow.
And that's when Jay came up with the idea, let's podcast. I go, what do you want to do? What? Podcast? I don't know what podcasting is. So that started the whole podcasting thing. And then it just took over our lives. Like it took over everybody else's life. And the rest is history. But yeah, I watched an episode out of order because people were talking about it. And I go, I have no idea what's going on. People said, no, you got to watch it from the start.
Yeah.
And so that's why I was like, the whole time going, oh my God. I got to watch the next episode. But yeah, I'm glad we did because this show is just an amazing piece of television.
Who's your favorite character?
It's always been Hurley. I just always have liked
Okay.
Hurley. Just because he's just fun-loving Hurley, and I just like him. But Locke is my favorite character, probably to hate on because he just irritates me so much. But he's probably the best character on the show. Again, it doesn't work without Locke.
Mhm.
I don't think. I think Terry O'Quinn does an amazing job. Because I know when we were podcasting, people, because I would always point out Locke's flaws, and people would say, "Why do you hate Terry O'Quinn?" And I go, "I don't hate Terry O'Quinn. I don't like Locke." And then I'd argue with people about Locke. I go, "It's just look at the flashback. Look at how he's on the island." I go, I go, but he's a great character. I mean, I love the character Locke, but it's just like, no, he's not someone I'd hang around with.
The better question is, are you a Jack and Kate fan or a Kate and Sawyer fan?
I never got into that. I mean, I know that a lot of people did, but I just didn't care. But I think Sawyer finding Juliet was the perfect match for him because he always had a heart, and he cared so much about her, and it changed him. It didn't change him so much, but it brought out the good Sawyer. James. It brought out James. It brought him out and put Sawyer away. Whereas Kate would never have done that for Sawyer. She wasn't the right person for him. They cared for each other, but only as kind of like a
yeah.
But it wasn't love.
Oh no, absolutely not. It drives me crazy how people say they are. Yeah.
No.
Jate is fate. Jack and Kate. So
yeah.
But yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm all about Rose and Bernard. I think they have a great love affair.
Another thing that's hard on rewatches is the love triangle. It's like, stop it. Every time Sawyer and Kate will like get close to each other, I'm like, stop.
They did that for ratings. Just to keep people. They had to keep people because I know we would get a lot of emails about it, and I'd be like, "Oh, I just don't care." But it's like you had to. I didn't want to, offend people, so we'd play along. But I really didn't care about that part of the show.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it didn't ruin it for me. I mean, I didn't say I can't watch this, but I didn't want to talk about it as much. I said, whatever happens at the end, I'm cool with. But like I said, Juliet coming into Sawyer's life was the best thing that ever happened to him.
I think I knew from the pilot, I was like, Jack and Kate together. They got to be. They're just, you can't beat that scene where she's stitching him up and their first meeting and all that. It's just.
Plus, he didn't care about her past.
So important. Yeah.
He goes, I don't care. I don't care about your past. Until one point where she goes, what did you do? They're in the caves, and she goes, I thought you didn't care.
Yeah.
But anyway. now we have set of records.
Oh boy.
2 hours 6 minutes.
Oh boy.
But is there anything else?
Nothing. I just thank you guys for spending tonight with me and
talking
about
this is
great.
Great.
I enjoyed. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you for letting me come on here.
Great meeting you, Caleb. I've seen you on social network forever, but never actually spoke with you.
I know, it's awesome.
This was a great. It's the thing about Lost. It's like I said, it's 2 hours and 7 minutes, but it doesn't feel like it.
Yeah.
No,
because the show just cruises along. I mean, it's great, and you get different perspectives of what people are thinking and stuff like that. So, this rewatch has been a lot of fun so far. Yeah. So,
well, I'd love to come back on anytime, especially Juliet episodes. And
I know. I'll keep that in mind when Juliet. What's your favorite one?
The Incident.
The Incident,
which I consider a Juliet episode, but yeah, The Incident.
That's season 5, though, right?
Yeah, that's okay. I mean, I'll come back before then.
Okay, all right.
Obviously, Anna Lucia, throw me whatever episode you want. I don't care.
I know when I first asked you, I'm a Juliet fan. I go, well, Juliet, when did she come in? She didn't come like season 3, right?
So the very first second of season 3.
Yeah, that's right, because she's making muffins for the book
she's
club,
making
right?
her own kind of music. She's making her own kind of music.
No, that was Desmond.
That's Desmond.
Was Desmond. Yeah.
Hers was
downtown.
Yeah,
downtown. Yes, that's it. Right.
Making her muffins downtown.
I'm glad we figured that out because that would have drove me crazy.
I'm getting punchy because it's after midnight, so I'm getting a little punchy now. So I can't think straight.
Oh yeah, I forget y'all are you an hour ahead too?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, it's after midnight for us.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So I'm getting my songs all messed up. So forgive me, Lost.
Well, anyway,
I think it's okay.
Thank you so much for letting me come on here. I really appreciate it, and I'd love to do it anytime.
Definitely have you guys on again. Of course, Karen,
you know how to reach me.
You're a great partner.
Oh,
video partner to talk with.
Thank you. I have so much fun. I really enjoy doing it. Thank you so much.
All right, guys.
Namaste.
We're out.
Oh, yes.